Warm welcome everybody to this press point with the European Parliament's two co-chairs for the delegation visiting Moldova this week. Also very warm welcome to those who are following us online. And to my left I have the first co-chair, Madame Nathalie Loiseau, who is also chair of Parliament's Subcommittee on Security and Defence. And further to the left I have Mr. Urmas Paet, who is the vice chair of the Committee on Foreign Affairs. So they will now start with some introductory statements and then we can move on to questions. Would you like to start, Mr. Paet?
Yes. So, good morning. And first I'd like to say very big thank you to the people of Moldova for hosting big amount of people, big amount of refugees from Ukraine. I'd like to thank you for your hospitality, that you opened your homes to those who really suffer and had to escape from their homeland. All what is going on in your neighboring country, in Ukraine, of course, is horrible. Russian aggression against Ukraine is a very tragic event, and of course from the European Union, from the European Parliament's point of view, this aggression has to stop, and Ukraine has to have chance to decide about its present and future, and of course the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Ukraine must be restored. And that's why also the European Union has taken several decisions how to help, how to assist Ukraine, and also how to influence Russia to stop its aggression against your neighboring country, Ukraine. We are also very well aware of the problems and risks Moldova has, starting with energy and energy security. And here again, energy should not be the object for manipulation. In this regard, it is absolutely important also for the EU to assist Moldova to increase your energy security. Issues also related to propaganda war, to manipulations also of your public opinion in this sense are absolutely important, because unfortunately with this aggressive action of Russia, this war in Ukraine, we also have noticed that there are more and more elements of propaganda attacks here and there, and here also the EU and Moldova should cooperate. Also issues related to cybersecurity, where the cooperation between the EU and Moldova is very much needed. Recently the European Parliament also approved the macro financial assistance to Moldova, 150 million euros. Next week there will be a donors conference organized by Germany, France and Romania, so that I really hope that all EU member states also give their further financial assistance to Moldova to get over from these difficulties which also Moldova is facing these days. It's also a very important step that Moldova, together with Ukraine and Georgia, applied for the EU membership on the 3rd of March. As you know, the processes in the EU started on the basis of this application, and this is the issue for 27 EU governments to decide, but the European Parliament is clearly in the position that this political decision to grant candidate status for Moldova must be there, because only then it will be possible to launch real negotiations about the future possible membership of Moldova in the European Union. Well, I stop here my monologue. My colleague Nathalie will continue, and then of course we open to answer your questions, please.
Thank you, Urmas, and thank you for all of you for being here today. We came with the delegation of members of the European Parliament to listen to the needs of the Moldovan authorities and to express our support and gratitude to the Moldovan people. War has come back to Europe. You know it better than others because war is taking place in Ukraine next door to you. This war was unprovoked. There was no reason. There was no threatening, no provocation, no aggression from the Ukrainian side. So it was a pure decision of the Russian leadership. It creates only suffering, only losses and destructions. What the European Union is trying to do is provide support to Ukraine, provide pressure to the Russian regime, and find a path towards peace, and the sooner the better. Here in Moldova, as Urmas said, you are welcoming many Ukrainian refugees, and we have to improve our support for what you are doing because it is unprecedented, it's extremely generous, but it's also a burden on your shoulders, and we have to share this burden together. We also have, and we are ready to help you in the monitoring of your borders. The European agency Frontex of border guards is already on the ground, as well as the EU Border Management Mission, EUBAM Moldova, and probably more needs to be done even. Europol, the European Agency on Cooperation on Police, should be helping Moldova as well. We will come back with a number of suggestions to European agencies to be even more present in Moldova. Urmas mentioned cyber security. We know now that cyber attacks are not only coming from criminals asking for money, but sometimes coming from third states. And we know that we are all vulnerable. And the only way to be more resilient is to team up together. So on this as well, the European Union has started working with Moldova to strengthen the resilience of your country towards cyber attacks. Urmas mentioned, and rightly so, disinformation and propaganda. We are facing it together. My home country, France, is also facing propaganda, fake news about the war in Ukraine. And there is no reason that we get attacked, I would say, even in our living rooms, in our mind, by people who want us to believe lies. So these are things that we have to work together. This is the reason for our presence. Of course, this afternoon we will go to the border and meet with people in charge of welcoming refugees and refugees themselves. But we stand ready with full support. Moldova made a choice to belong to the West and to apply for the European Union. We are grateful for this choice, and we don't want Moldova to be disappointed.
And if I may add two more issues related to trade relations, because of course war in Ukraine also influences harshly your economy here in Moldova and also trade relations. So that from European Parliament's point of view, of course, I guess we also urge European Council very quickly to look through and act what concerns agricultural quotas of Moldovan imports to the European Union. I guess here still EU can make some decisions to ease the exports from Moldova to the European Union. And second issue is trade routes, as of course at the moment transit to and from Moldova through Ukraine is more or less impossible. So it means that other alternatives through the European Union countries should also quickly be implemented as easy way and few bureaucracy as possible.
Thank you very much. With that said, if there are any questions, please raise them. If you have questions, could I just kindly ask that you indicate your name and the media you represent so that our coaches know who you're addressing. Please go ahead.
My name is Lilia Barbaros, Radio Free Europe. First, my question is what can be predicted about the war in Ukraine? What solution of peace do you think would best respond to the interests of Republic of Moldova? And another question is, does anyone in Brussels blame Chisinau for not following the Western sanctions policy against Russia?
Who would like to start?
Well, if I may start, then first, no, nobody blames Moldova, because the understanding is clear how difficult and sensitive is the situation for Moldova, and in this sense, vice versa. We appreciate highly that Moldova joined and even was active in preparing UN resolution on the war against Ukraine, and of course also accommodating and hosting so much or so many refugees coming from Ukraine. So that in this sense, I guess Moldova is doing already a lot if we look at all the circumstances. What result of the war in this sense could benefit the best for Moldova, but it's not only for Moldova. It could benefit the best also for all Europe, and I would say to the world, is of course that Ukraine, as I said, will restore its sovereignty over all of its territory. In this sense, it's absolutely necessary and normal that on 21st century, all European countries can freely decide what kind of future they want for their society. So it applies for Ukraine, it applies for Moldova, it applies for any other nation in Europe. So this should be the outcome of this horrible aggression, that Ukraine is once again free, and all the territory of Ukraine in this sense is free and under Ukrainians' control. Plus, of course, as the consequence of this awful aggression, also the very important principles in Russian foreign policy have to change. So it is not acceptable that one country, that Russia thinks that they can decide what can be or should be the future of Moldova or Ukraine or any other nation. No, all countries are free countries, free societies, and they should not be afraid of its neighbor. So that I really hope that we will see, as a result of these horrible days and horrible aggression, that Ukraine is free to do whatever they decide is right to do for Ukraine, and we will see that also finally the foreign policy, aggressive foreign policy of Russia will change.
Let me maybe add a few words on the situation of the war in Ukraine and where it goes. Words are not enough. We need actions. When Russia says that they are going to change their priorities and turn to the east of Ukraine, first they should stop the war and withdraw troops. But even on turning priorities, we haven't seen it on the ground. There were shellings near Kyiv very recently. So we are very cautious on all the statements made by the Russian side, because since the beginning, maybe many of these statements were misleading. What do we expect? It's up to the Ukrainians to decide in their own negotiations what they want, and we are supporting them in this. I think that we have to be strong in providing security guarantees to Ukraine, whatever the outcome of the negotiations will be. This is our role, and we have to play this role. There were a number of miscalculations from the Russian regime at the origin of the war. They thought that the Ukrainian army would not fight, and they were wrong. They thought that the West would not be united, and they were wrong. And you can see here in Moldova how united is the European Union, the Western Alliance, and we will stand so for the future. Not against the Russian people, but we want the Russian regime to change its decisions, to change its behavior, not only in Ukraine, but elsewhere. Interferences, trying to impose solution to sovereign free countries is a thing of the past. And now the West has lost patience. And we are going to support free, independent countries which want to line up with us, even if a country like Moldova cannot decide sanctions for obvious reasons which we fully understand.
Any more questions? Anyone would like to ask a question?
No, that's it.
That's it.
Well, that's all right.
So thank you very much for coming, and once again pass our gratitude and our words of thank you and admiration to all Moldovan people who are helping people who maybe have lost a lot in Ukraine. So that it is of course really tragic, and that's why it's especially valuable what your people are doing. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.